Okay, very well. Thank you very much. And very warm welcome to, first of all the speakers who are going to be participating in this very important session. Also, a very warm welcome to all the participants who are, I can see there are a number of them. As far as the speakers are concerned, before I make my opening remarks, could I please request the speakers to all put on their cameras so that, I think the participants and all of us can also see each other so that we are not talking to blank screens, but we are talking to people, to individuals whom we can see and whom we can connect with and whom we can relate with. So good, I have three speakers in addition to myself, and I think we are supposed to have three more if I am not mistaken. One, two, three, four, five, six. That's right. So hopefully the other three speakers will also join very soon. So, friends, this is a session that we are going to be speaking on maritime connectivity and trade in the Indo-Pacific. And although we speak a great deal about the, as far as security is concerned, stability is concerned, peace, tranquility is concerned, as far as the Indo-Pacific is the whole region of Indo-Pacific is there. But maritime connectivity and trade are some of the most important elements as far as this region goes. Because if we look at it, one, in terms of the expanse, if we look at what has been mentioned, what has been stated, and there is appears to be general agreement on that particular aspect, that it extends the whole region of Indo-Pacific. It extends from the east coast of Africa right up to the west coast of America. Earlier, there used to be, I remember in the initial days, and particularly when my Prime Minister had gone to the Shangri-La Dialogue, and he had mentioned that this is the expanse. And I think since we have a number of speakers here from Sri Lanka, those who reside in the Indian Ocean, so the inclusivity of Indian Ocean in the Indo-Pacific is extremely significant. At that time, the American thinking was, the American view was that it should be from what was mentioned from Bollywood to Hollywood. That means from the western coast of India to the western coast of the United States. But then, of course, there are a large number of countries in the Indian Ocean region, and for them it is absolutely imperative that the Indian Ocean region is also included as a part of the Indo-Pacific. So I think this is the region, and if we look at global trade, we see that about 90% of global trade is conducted through the maritime route. And if we look at the prosperity of different countries, we see that it is very closely related, very closely linked to trade. The GDP of different countries, this is very intricately related to the trade that they are able to conduct with other countries. So maritime connectivity and trade in that context becomes very essential, because if countries have to develop, if the countries have to grow, if the countries have to improve the living standards of their people, trade is absolutely essential. The second aspect is, of course, in terms of exploitation and harnessing of the resources of the Indo-Pacific, whether it is in terms of minerals, whether it is in terms of metals or fisheries, that is also extremely important. And so it is in that context also that we need to discuss this particular issue. Of course, we have been seeing, so warm welcome to Mr. Rahul Sharma also, who's joined us in the panel group. So we've been talking about the importance of the subject as far as the Indo-Pacific is concerned. And the last few comments that I will make is that we have seen in recent past, in recent years, that the security in this particular area has come under a cloud, there have been question marks that have been raised. And that, of course, has very serious impact on both connectivity as well as on trade. Meaning the most obvious example to me would look at that after the Israel-Gaza conflict, we've had the Houthis who have been firing missiles and sending rockets onto the Red Sea so that the shipping has been disrupted in a very big way. And that also, rather than going through the Red Sea and through the Suez to the Mediterranean and for European markets and vice versa back from there, the shipping has had to go via the Cape of Good Hope, via Africa, and that, of course, has had a very serious problem as far as predictability and certainty of trade is concerned. The second aspect, of course, we have seen that there has been piracy in terms of whether it is the Horn of Africa or even as far as the South China Sea is concerned. And that is something that also needs to be controlled, that needs to be taken care of. We have seen also because of the non-observance of the UNCLOS 82 in the South China Sea, that there is contestation, there is conflict in terms of the position of different islands, in terms even of militarization of the different islands. And that also has a huge impact, of course, on peace and security. And when peace and security gets impacted, then of course trade gets impacted. This is one of the positions, the views that has been taken by in a large number of meetings right from the beginning of the Quad, that there needs to be freedom of navigation, freedom of overflights as far as Indo-Pacific is concerned. The whole region has to pursue the rule of law, and there has to be also the Indo-Pacific has to be free, it has to be open, it has to be secure, and it has to be inclusive. And of course, all these aspects are absolutely significant and important for ensuring trade and ensuring maritime connectivity. Of course, that having been said, I think it also needs to be recognized that these areas, the Indo-Pacific, has not always been free. Of course, it has been used, meaning if I give the example of India and of Sri Lanka in our neighborhood, we had trading via the maritime route from the Arab world to the west coast of India. And then, of course, after 1498, we had the arrival of first the Portuguese coming to India, and then, of course, all the other colonial powers coming here. And from India and from Sri Lanka, they moved on to Southeast Asia. Of course, we had the Spaniards coming the opposite direction also, and coming to the eastern coast of the ASEAN countries. So there has been movement for thousands of years, but there have been challenges, but we need to discuss what are the possibility, what is the potential, and what are the challenges that afflict maritime connectivity, that afflict trade in our times, and how can we take it for the future. So with these few words of introduction, let me extend a very warm welcome to my distinguished panel. We have 6 members in the panel, and each of them gets 10 minutes to speak. So we are starting the presentation of the panelists at 3:20. So I would like to first of all invite Admiral Jayantha Perera. He's the former commander of the Sri Lankan Navy. I will not read out the full resume of Admiral Perera, but a very warm welcome to you, sir. Admiral Jayantha Perera was the 19th commander of the Sri Lankan Navy. He brings 37 years of distinguished military experience and expertise in maritime defense. So I'm sure that the presentation, 10 minutes that Admiral Perera has, he'll be able to add to our understanding of the subject that we are discussing. So over to you, Admiral Perera, for 10 minutes, and we look forward to listening to your comments on the subject.
Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much, Chair, for your kind introduction. Mr. Chairman, my topic for today is building maritime connectivity, ports, trade and transport, Sri Lankan perspective. But only thing, the time is very short, but anyway, I try to cover within, what I have written in my script. Ladies and gentlemen, the global maritime supply chains undoubtedly serves instrumental in shaping the trade pathways of nations, as a majority of the exchange take place through sea routes. However, having in place an all-inclusive multimodal transport system unfolding connectivity platforms bridged by rail, road, air and waterways would be essential in building a more holistic industrial ecosystem that may seem business friendly. Nevertheless, regions across the globe have continued initiating efforts facilitating the improved functioning of the supply chain maneuvering the maritime industry amidst the progress gained till date, creating connectivity channels beyond borders for the ease of doing business. Many nations have now quite alternative begun implementing the one-stop shop strategy to provide the investors with all supply chain services under one roof. While it is noteworthy to state that trade, ports and transport have become key component of the connectivity network, enabling nations to function as one global village, the maritime sectors may certainly serve as the greatest stimuli in improving the trade profiles of the nations. Ladies and gentlemen, gaining insight from the unclosed provisions for fostering maritime diplomacy, which stipulates the legal framework governing all maritime operations. The global maritime sector has scaled new heights towards becoming more inclusive by enforcing more open policies. However, at a time when the concept of maritime connectivity is gaining precedence, the Indo-Pacific region in particular has excessively commenced investing in waterways, air and roadways with the primary purpose of gaining easy access to global markets. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of the Indo-Pacific region at length, it must be stated that the region offers the primary passage of connection, bringing together the busiest sea lines of global trade transportation. Half of the world's container traffic, 1/3 of bulk cargo transportation, and 2/3 of global oil trade transit the waters of this region, approximately accounting for 50% of the world's shipping trade. Ports in this region have been categorized based on their transshipment incident percentages as gateways, regional hubs, and pure transshipment ports. Furthermore, this region is expected to contribute 22.1% of the world GDP by 2025, next year. And this process of regional maritime integration, which regional nations have reaffirmed the fifth in the ranking forwards towards successful closer, has been further facilitated by the gradual unfolding of the phase of digitalization, which has necessitated the majority of the supply chain function to be carried out on the virtual platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, in this context, Sri Lanka's role as an island nation in the contribution made towards promoting regional maritime connectivity is certainly vital to understand the locational advantage of occupying a strategic position along the main maritime pathways, provides seafarers and supply chains intermediaries with better integrated navigating platforms, while 8 nautical miles south of Sri Lanka lies the East-West shipping corridor. It further serves as a bridging platform connecting Asia to Europe. However, this being the busiest sea route in the world, more than 200 to 300 ships move along these channels every day, carrying 2/3 of the world's oil, 1/3 of the world's container shipment. Moreover, Sri Lanka has also been identified as the only South Asian transshipment hub and the central point linking the Middle East and the Far East hubs within 4 days of sailing and 4 hours of flight time. Therefore, as the time goes by, it may certainly become evident that the Sri Lanka will be able to transform itself into a hub of maritime trade in the Indian Ocean and the Indo-Pacific region. Ladies and gentlemen, Sri Lanka at present has prioritized the undertakings relating to maritime spatial planning as well as the realignment of inland resources and land management systems, which the nations believes may help complement the process of promoting maritime trade activities and gaining advantage of being positioned in the world's fastest growing economic region, comprising of the widening consumer markets and industrial sectors, therefore increasing the productivity levels and the handling capacity of seaports located along the coastal belt of Sri Lanka, while also improving the associated infrastructure will remain mandatory. If the envisaged long-term hopes of becoming regional hub for maritime trade is to be realized as planned, the speedy development that is taking place to improve the shipping, logistic infrastructure facilities and around main ports of Sri Lanka, such as Port of Colombo, Port of Hambantota and Port of Trincomalee, is allowing the expansion of existing terminals and building new terminals with enhanced capacity that could easily handle the largest categories of vessels, while also providing the way for extending export services. Moreover, with the share of 2.5% of GDP, the entire maritime sector of Sri Lanka has been able to draw $2 billion revenue annually and has been able to contribute 7% of the national export income. Ladies and gentlemen, the Port of Colombo identified as the deep draft port which was able to secure milestone achievement of being able to handle a total of 7.2 million TEUs in 2020 as assessed by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Administration Development Port Liner Shipping Connectivity Index 2022 of the first quarter, was identified as the 17th best out of the 25 world's best port, as was further recognized by the World Shipping Council in 2020 as the 25th best port among the top 50 container ports in the world. However, plans have been already been undertaken to improve the level of efficiency of the major container terminal to gradually reach handling capacity of 18 million TEUs by 2030. At present, 80% of the container transshipment are from India and the balance are from other countries in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, regional connectivity comes in many forms of fostering a multimodal transport system within nations and between nations that have easy road and rail access. Many may certainly complement the operations of the maritime activity chain, growing support extending through various modes of transportation, which include air, road, and rail connectivity channels is becoming an added advantage in this context. Sri Lanka holds the advantage of having the highest road density in South Asia, connecting all major seaports, airports, and Colombo, and down south, it's called close to Hambantota Mattola Airport. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, since my time is almost closer to 10 minutes, as gauged by regional nations, advancement that take place within the maritime domain will often bring necessity to strengthen the regional maritime security network that becomes the basis of promoting both security cooperation and trade alliances within the region. Therefore, further strengthening regional maritime security information sharing system and practicing well-tailored offshore disaster response management strategies would remain essential. This may very well imply that the sea lines of communications in the Indo-Pacific region and the lifeline of global commerce must be open for peaceful use, while safeguarding the interests of the regional nations and protecting the rights of the seafarers are rightly advocated by the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi. However, Sri Lanka, as the closest neighbor holding long-standing partnership with India in multifaceted way, is certainly committed to extending its fullest cooperation in collaborating with all such regional movement initiated by India towards leverage maritime sector operation as critical factors for attaining self-reliance by the regional nation. So that's I cover, but if there's any question and answer, I can answer. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Admiral Perera, for your very interesting and comprehensive presentation. I can understand that time is limited, so it is not possible to present the whole picture. But you have brought out a large number of very interesting points and aspects that this is, as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, the position is concerned, it is very essential. It is this region is used for transportation of very significant quantities of energy, of fossil fuel, as well as container traffic and other cargo from this region. So the sea lanes of communication have to be kept free, have to be kept open. And of course, that can be done with full cooperation and participation of different countries, multilateral countries. So let's come to the next speaker, that is Mr. Raj Mohabeer. He is an economist by profession, and he has held since 2000 the post of officer in charge at the General Secretariat of the Indian Ocean Commission, which is an intergovernmental organization of the Southwest Indian Ocean island states. So the floor is over to you, Mr. Mohabeer, and again, 10 minutes. I see that we don't have the full quorum of speakers, so maybe we can extend that 10 minutes to 12 or 13 minutes if that is required. So over to you, Mr. Mohabeer, for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm indeed very happy to speak to this Indo-Pacific Future Forum 2024 and wish to express my sincere thanks to the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement. Chair, you have raised several complex issues and all those connected issues related to trade, maritime security, risk with the increasing traffic in the Western Indian Ocean region due to the Houthi attacks. As you said, I'm in charge for maritime security, trade, regional integration, and connectivity. But each of these are complex matters and maybe the subject of a conference, each of them. So as it was requested to me, I will restrict my address on regional connectivity, maritime connectivity only. I will not dwell with the connected issues of trade, of maritime security, of other issues which you mentioned. And furthermore, I'm sorry I won't be able to speak for the whole region, Indo-Pacific region, I believe that precisely, and I'm very happy that this issue is on the table, the issue of maritime connectivity in the region. And I would make some points which I think would be very important for the Indo-Pacific region to take on. So I'll focus my intervention on maritime connectivity in the Western Indian Ocean region. Now, first of all, why is maritime connectivity a major issue? It seems it's a question of economy. It's a combination of costs of freight, which makes products very expensive. In our region, what we have seen is that, in fact, freight costs, which increased substantially during COVID, but at the same time, without COVID, it was the question of 30 to 40% of cost of consumer products. There is the issue of regularity of freights and delays in distribution and at times scarcity. But at the same time, the impact on the competitivity of the products of the country, and especially with those which are small economies, small countries, smaller island developing states, and especially countries which are we have undiversified economies, which is the case for many countries in this region, in the Western Indian Ocean region. The other problem is that there is then high dependency on imports for a variety of essential commodities and manufactured goods. And, better maritime connectivity would have helped for, markets which are integrated to be more flourishing, increased trade, and more rapid movement of passengers and freight, and hence a more inclusive and equitable growth, which we see anywhere elsewhere. So it is an important issue. Indeed, it's a very important issue. But then, all that I mentioned are not just restricted to exogenous factors. We have some inherent and internal issues as well. And I would like to mention a few. There are, according to me, 3 other important inherent internal issues. First, the efficiency of customs and border management clearances. Secondly, the quality of trade and transport infrastructure. Thirdly, the frequency of shipments delivered on time or not. Then we find that the ports in the regions are amongst the least competitive in the world when you look at the logistics competitive index. Now, this is further compounded by some other problems. You see, when you look at developing countries, we have small internal markets. There is a lack of effective regional integration policies. There are many inland transport infrastructure problems. Countries like Madagascar, very big, but then small, population scattered everywhere, leading to inefficiencies in the maritime connectivity system. But then there are also many coastal and other island states which face challenges to overcome the procedures and infrastructure. And, as I said, the lack of attention to the whole maritime connectivity logistics change. The tendency is to look only on the freight and freight cost, but in fact, when you analyze, much of it also are linked to the whole maritime logistics chain. Now, I'd like to come to the bigger picture. And here, what we see is that because of this issue of the weakness of maritime connectivity in the region is importing more and more from Asia and exporting less and less to its traditional markets, with the impact of imbalance on trade and a negative balance of trade. More importantly, small economies are now importing between 85 to 90% of their food from faraway countries all over the world. Just to give one example, Mauritius and Reunion import nearly 500,000 tons of maize for the poultry industry from Argentina. Nearly half of the cost of this is transport cost. And Seychelles imports its chicken from Brazil. Can you imagine that? And why we are in this situation? See, globalization during the last 25 years have made the region even more vulnerable. Of course, it has its pros and cons. Some countries have benefited a lot. But while during the last 25 years saw a proliferation of regional integration processes, with 315 regional integration processes notified to the WTO, there has been not similar processes with one of the most important planks of globalization, which is maritime connectivity. On the contrary, what we see is that the shipping lines are continually rationalizing the services on the basis of market demand, cost, and freight rates. Moreover, global shipping lines are in constant process of increasing the size of their vessels in order to decrease the cost per TEU transported. This puts pressure on the ports, including those of the Western Indian Ocean region, to adapt to their infrastructure, the quay length, the depth, to meet the demand. But reform is confronted by the complexities of dealing with each country with different entities, ministries, institutions with different responsibilities for maritime development. In short, what I'm saying is that the region's economic growth and potential is very much dependent on the business plans of the bigger shipping companies. I'd like just here to remind ourselves that the President Biden, at one point in time, he said that he would take measures against 9 international shipping companies which were making extreme profits while the whole world was seeing lots of problems during the COVID, if you remember. So in short, the major challenges of the region is a maritime connectivity that provides cost-effective shipping services, increased frequency of transportation in the maritime transport system, well-integrated chain of intermodal transport system and relating facilities, and regional economic and trade strategy and relating to a coordinated policy for maritime transport. To conclude, Chair, maritime connectivity cannot be improved individually by one country and cannot be confined to the availability of shipping services in this region only, but require actions to address the entire and intermodal transport chain, including port characteristics, organization of trade facilitation in the supply chain, including national level transportation, the institutional and legal framework in each country and in the region, and capacity in the public sector and ability to attract finance for that maritime sector. In concrete terms, these include maritime services, including navigation, piloting, towage, ship repair, etc., infrastructure such as port and logistics and at ports, competitive support services such as customs, bank, insurance, and freight forwarders. And inland infrastructure, including national transport system, inland shipping, and short sea feeder coastal shipping services. And I'll like to end, Chair, here is that. So the question is whether in this forum of Indo-Pacific, is there appetite for an Indo-Pacific maritime connectivity strategy and plan? That is the question I'm leaving to. And I think that what we are doing in this region of the Western Indian Ocean region, trying to get the countries to be working together to come up with one strategy and one plan of action, maybe we should look at the whole of the Indo-Pacific and reflect on that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohabeer, for your presentation. You have made a number of very important and interesting points. And I think the point that you make that the business and commerce and trade of smaller countries in the Indian Ocean, they are more controlled by what the demands are of the large shipping companies and not of their own demands. They have to cater to the demands of these shipping companies. In fact, in business and commerce, it is said that customer is king, but here it is not the customer who seems to be the king, but it is the transporter who appears to be the king, who seems to be dictating all the terms as to what needs to be done and how trade can take place. But some of these points that you have mentioned, that corn is imported from Argentina and chicken are imported by Seychelles from Brazil, meaning this really stretches imagination as to why it should be, because normally trade and commerce is conducted on basis of competitiveness, comparative advantage, also in terms of quality, etc. Now, I can grant that quality in Argentina and Brazil could be very good, but the transportation should make it rather prohibitive in terms of the total costing. But what you seem to suggest that it is not so, and they are able to have, because they are able to export large quantums, large quantities, they are able to do that without having to have much of an impact on their overall landed cost. So I think many of these issues and the suggestion that you make that we need to come together for an Indo-Pacific maritime connectivity strategy rather than the world over, maybe that will be a challenge, because these big companies, shipping companies particularly, which are operating, they are operating on a global scale. So we will really need to discuss that in greater detail. Maybe during our question answer session, we can have a further look at that. Let me now invite Dr. Vidyapati Purushothaman, if he is with us, and he is the postdoc candidate in the Shenzhen University, China. So do we have Dr. Vidyapati Purushothaman with us? Doesn't seem to be the case. So let me go to our next speaker, and maybe Dr. Vidyapati will join us a little later. And let me now invite Dr. Asantha Senevirathna. He's the senior lecturer in the Department of Strategic Studies, General SirJohn of Kotelawala Defense University in Sri Lanka. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair, for the kind introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Yes.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the Nepal Institute of International Cooperation and Engagement for giving me this opportunity to deliver a speech on the important topic of maritime connectivity and trade in the Indo-Pacific region. My speech will, in the first part of the speech, will focus on generally what's happening in the Indo-Pacific in relation to maritime connectivity and trade. Little bit about history also I'm going to touch upon. Then I will move on to the Sri Lankan section, as the former Admiral Perera highlighted. Sri Lanka is also a very important country because of its location within the Indian Ocean region, in the wider Indo-Pacific region. It's very important to highlight there are few countries which have become developed countries in the Indo-Pacific region, especially engage in trade, especially after the Second World War. As you all know, there are more than 40 countries in the large Indo-Pacific region. If you take the regions, various parts in the Indo-Pacific region, but among them, 13 countries are considered developed or high-income nations in the Indo-Pacific region. In the Americas, you have the United States, Canada. Then in Asia, it's Japan. Then the Tigers of Asia, the South Korea, the regions like Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore. Then in Gulf countries, there are a few countries which are high-income countries due to the export of oil. And then you have Australia and New Zealand. So there are very few countries which have become developed countries. But there's a huge potential for countries to become developed in the future because there are countries which are rapidly growing and they have larger populations. Even China is not considered a developed country. But it has a huge potential in purchasing power parity. It has become the largest economy in the world. In the nominal GDP, it's the second largest economy, but there's a huge potential. But as I highlighted, it was Japan which was the first country to become a developed country in the Asian context of the Indo-Pacific region. And thereafter, we saw the tigers of Asia, the countries or regions becoming developed nations. Mainly the development of these countries were driven by international trade, the trade activities, and also the development of their maritime infrastructure, and most notably their interaction with the United States economy. So the United States was the country that largely pushed these countries out of poverty, and it was the major contributing factor for the development of these nations. Even in the Gulf nations, in the earlier stages, most of these countries exported their oil to the United States. That's why they became high-income nations. Then the Chinese economic miracle, which started from 1978. Now China has become the largest trader in the world. Even for China's economic development, the United States was the most important factor. But now things are changing. We can say that the United States is not the major driver of trade and expansion of maritime connectivity in the Indo-Pacific region. Instead, it is China, because China has become the biggest manufacturer in the world, the biggest trader in the world. And also, China is the biggest infrastructure related to maritime infrastructure development throughout the Indo-Pacific region. So this is a drastic change from the Cold War era in the 21st century. And China is the biggest trade partner of many of the countries in the Indo-Pacific region. For example, now in the Middle East, the Gulf countries, most of the oil goes to China. China is the biggest buyer of oil from the Middle Eastern region. And also throughout this time, China has accumulated large amount of foreign reserves through their trade surplus that they had with the United States. They had the largest amount of foreign reserves, more than 3,000 billion US dollars. And we all know China has, with this money, they are expanding the activities throughout the Indo-Pacific region. And the most notable project that they officially announced in 2013 was the Belt and Road Initiative. And under the Belt and Road Initiative, they also have this 21st Century Maritime Silk Route Initiative. Under that, they have so many maritime infrastructure development projects throughout the region in the Indo-Pacific region. But generally, the countries in the Indo-Pacific region now is strangled between China and the United States, the rivalry of China and United States. And therefore, there are various challenges as well as opportunities for the countries, including Sri Lanka, in the Indo-Pacific region. Then there are a few challenges for the trade in the Indo-Pacific region, as you all know. Most notably, the US-China trade war, which is affecting other countries in the region, and it's also influenced the maritime connectivity in the region. Then the possibility of China-Taiwan war in Taiwan Strait. Taiwan is again a very important country connected to the international trade. If there's a possibility of war between these two countries, even the United States, Japan, even Australia can be attracted into the conflict, and it can have a huge impact on the region and beyond. Then the South China Sea is also a hot spot in the region that can have a conflict, and it can lead to disruption in the international trade, because wider trade route goes through the South China Sea. Then even the instability that we see in the Middle Eastern region is having an impact on the trade, maritime connectivity. Most notably, the Bab el Mandeb, that strait, the Houthis' actions has prevented some of the international shipping part of the world. So there are various challenges in the Indo-Pacific region, especially in related to maritime connectivity and the development of international trade. Then I would like to come to Sri Lanka situation. I think the Admiral Jayantha Perera highlighted many things related to Sri Lanka. Now, Sri Lanka is located in a very important, strategically important location in the Indo-Pacific region, especially in the Indian Ocean region. It is on the famous east-west sea route that connects the east and west. And over time, Sri Lanka has developed very important maritime infrastructure facilities, most notably the port of Colombo, then one of the largest natural harbors, the Trincomalee Harbor is there, then the Hambantota Port Harbor is there. Then there are many minor ports around Sri Lanka. Now, how Sri Lanka is playing according to the developments that you see in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, Sri Lanka has become partner to China's Belt and Road Initiative as well as the United States-led Indo-Pacific strategy. Now, as I see, Sri Lanka, in a way, to a greater success, have used the hedging strategy to attract the interest of the major powers and attract those interests to develop the maritime infrastructure. Especially this is very much visible in related to the port of Colombo. Now, port of Colombo, as Admiral Jayantha highlighted, is the busiest port in the South Asian region. That is not due to the trade that Sri Lanka conducts, like, import and export. It is due to the transshipment. Mainly the transshipment comes from India and various other countries. Now, Sri Lanka has earned lots of money through the transshipment. There was a very important development in the port of Colombo in 2001, where we got a Hong Kong-based Chinese company to invest in the southern terminal of the port of Colombo in partnership with the Port Authority and a local private company. And after that, there was a greater increase of volume in the transshipment in port of Colombo, but it generated suspicion in India as well as in United States and other countries. And they also developed an interest in the port of Colombo, and they also came up with their own strategies. Most notably, Japan and India was to collaborate in a project in the eastern terminal of the port of Colombo, which didn't went through due to various reasons. But then again, Sri Lanka collaborated with India, the Adani Group, to build the western terminal in the port of Colombo, $750 million investment. And later, the United States also came in with a loan through the IFS, International Finance Corporation. But now, due to a legal issue, there's an issue there. But Adani Group has highlighted they are going to go ahead with the project. Now, with all this development, the Colombo port is going to increase its capacity. And it will be a greater transshipment hub in the years to come in the future. And also we have the Hambantota port in southern Sri Lanka, which was the 70% of the stakes were leased out to a Chinese company for a long 99-year lease. But there are also development taking place. But in Hambantota, as you all know, there were issues because we got a huge loan from China, and when we couldn't repay, we had to give much of the shares of the port to a Chinese company. Interesting to see what will happen in the future in related to Hambantota, but we see some sort of a development in the port, gradual development. Then the port of Trincomalee, the government of Sri Lanka for a very long time tried to jointly develop the port with India and the collaboration with Japan. And then we have some ports in the northern Sri Lanka. There are development projects with connecting to India to develop trade there. So I would argue Sri Lanka largely have benefited being in a strategic location in the Indo-Pacific region, though we have not involved in international trade a lot, but facilitating transshipment as a transshipment hub and through to transshipment operations, Sri Lanka have done well. But in years to come, how Sri Lanka is going to manage the interest of major powers, like we all know, there's Indo-Pacific strategy and BRI possibly competing with each other. How we are dealing with United States, China, India is a major question. But I think for the time being, especially in related to the maritime infrastructure development, we have adopted this hedging strategy to a great extent, and I believe we have gained success. So in the future also, there are big plans for the maritime infrastructure development in Sri Lanka. So hopefully this will be a major contributor for the Sri Lankan economy, especially to come out of the current situation as a foreign exchange earner, and hopefully it will have a positive impact on the island nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senevirathna, for your very interesting presentation. I think you make a number of very important points. Firstly, that all the countries in Indo-Pacific in the past, they have many of them have succeeded, and they have become more prosperous by trading with the United States, and that has been through maritime connectivity. And your own experience of hedging with different powers in the region, and particularly improving the transshipment facilities. And of course, I think there are a number of examples in that also, whether it is Singapore, which has acted as an entrepot for trade between different regions, also Dubai, which really have had, these are small places, they have had no great natural resources or no great specialization as such, but on the basis of transshipment of trade and serving as entrepot, they have been able to significantly enhance their prosperity levels. But of course, as you said, Hambantota port does not seem to be working that well. There are challenges. So maybe, once we have finished all the presentations, you could possibly share your thoughts on what is the potential for that, what is as compared to Colombo, because Hambantota is even closer to the sea lanes of communication down south. So why has it not been such a success? And while Colombo keeps expanding, but Hambantota is, to that extent, stagnating or not doing all that well. So now let me invite our next speaker, Mr. Ayadoure S. Stalin. He is the research scholar at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, India, and he will be speaking on for future pathways for the shrimp industry in the Indo-Pacific, navigating between import restrictions and market access. So if you are with us, Mr. Ayadoure Stalin, you have the floor, and again, about 12 to 14 minutes you can take. Yeah, please unmute yourself. Can you try to unmute yourself, please? So, Mr. Stalin, I think you can unmute yourself.
He just left the meeting. I'll just add him back.
Okay.
Hello, I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So apologies on my first side because I don't know what happened to my settings. So
okay,
mic
not
was
to worry,
not.
not to worry, not to
Yeah.
worry. Please go ahead.
So thank you, Ambassador. So I'm Ayadoure Stalin. So I'm here to present about the future of shrimp trade. So basically, why I took the shrimp trade as such, it is like one of the burning issue when compared to Indo-Pacific. It least export as well because shrimp as the market has been a huge potential in the Indo-Pacific region, because when we take the 3.6 million of shrimp export, which is being done in the world, or shrimp trade done in the world, so 60% of the shrimp trade are from the region of Indo-Pacific. So when I define Indo-Pacific, it's from the western region of Indian Ocean to the coast of USA. But shrimp trade is mostly connected with the Indian Ocean region, the Southeast Asia and East Asia region. So for my study, so I'm not going to take a much wider region, but I'm going to take Southeast Asia and the East Asian region to a limit as the definition of my scope. So from this perspective, I have understood from the shrimp trade what has been existing in the world are facing. Basically from the post climate change on environmental awareness paradigm. So we could see a lot of import restrictions imposed on the shrimp trade from this region, for on the region of Southeast Asia and East Asia, which later we even went to WTO arbitration. So I'm focusing on this paradigm. So to see what in the most the busiest and the populated region, how we could build a cooperation using the market access as the tool. This is my objective of the study. So now, as a shrimp trade as such, so when you look at the global issues, the when you look at the global issues, what plaguing this issue are like the stringent import regulations. So European Union and the US have imposed a high standard of shrimp imports. It is not because when we go for a trade and international mechanism, always we say about what is the trade surplus and trade deficit exist. And this is one of the most important the quantity, because the volume of the trade on shrimp is very high when this region is concerned. So due to this, the stringent import regulations are very high on the shrimp manufacturing, shrimp farming. So, and the most important aspect is like seeing the shrimps are being the food commodities. So even a slightest inflation in one corner of the world is how we translate into a big hyperinflation. So this product is also one of the most concerned product, because if not regulated properly by the local legislation, international legislation, so this would also lead to a high food the inflation as well. And climate change and market competition with South American countries are currently the harboring shrimp trade and aquaculture is also one of another another issues which has been justified by the US and the US in the world WTO, and also European Union as such. Now, let's see what are the import restrictions which European Union has on the shrimp industries on Southeast Asia and East Asia. So there are the four factors which as an import restriction imposed by European Union on the shrimp industry. First is over usages of antibiotic residues, because since the shrimp the cultivated or farmed shrimp has to travel through a huge supply chain. So usually antibiotic called neutrophorans has been used on this shrimp. So the amount of quantity which has been used by neutroforan has not been defined universally by any international legislation. As a result of it, even if a slightest quantity of neutroforan has been found, which are agreed in the local legislation of Southeast Asia, are considered as an biggest phytosanitary measures in European Union and the US. And the lack of ASC certified shrimps. There is the American standard certification called ASC, American shrimp certification called ASC. So which the major of the cultivators from Southeast Asia and East Asian markets are not accredited to it, but currently they have created due to the international, regional forum mechanisms like the ASEAN mechanism. So they have cultivated their own certification, which are considered as equivalent to the ASC certifications. And the most important next one is the food inflation, which often arise in the supply chain. Any supply chain shock or any inflation at one part of the world, the shrimps are also at the verge of getting their product inflated. And the green labeling, like eco certification, because whenever shrimp was manufactured, whenever shrimp are farmed from the seas or from the fresh waters. So as a result of year farming, even the turtles are also affected. So there are like huge turtle habitat which are being threatened. So this is the another more this is another factor which has been over discussed by the US and EU in the WTO arbitration, and because of this, they have formed out and WTO has formed out certain things which I would like to discuss in my presentation. It is like the nitrofuran usage must be limited and has been legislated using the bilateral trade agreement. So till now, in the WTO arbitration on the shrimps, so there is no multilateral consensus. It has been dealt in a bilateral way because WTO arbitration on the shrimps as such. So they see the private entity of the manufacturers, the cultivators, and the country, country of the source and the country of the destination are the claimant to the case. But when it comes to the nitrofuran usage, even still there is no uniformity scale which could be arrived. So this is another issue which is going to be haunting the industry. And nextly, the see the turtle which have been affected by the shrimp during shrimp farming. So there has been a labeling has been given in across uniformity by the WTO arbitration that during shrimp cultivation none of the turtles are hurted. So a labeling has been made. And this labeling has been made as a compulsory with the ASC certification, which this market has to, which the producer has to give forward. So in the market access, as we see, we have like three market mechanism: regional comprehensive economic partnership, the comprehensive partnership for comprehensive package for Trans-Pacific partnership, and in Indo-Pacific economic framework. So as this framework are being there, we have to understand like the intra-ASEAN trade or intra-Southeast Asian trade or intra-East Asian trade. So these are in good place, and the amount of trade occurs from the 60% of the trade. 60% of the shrimp cultivator from the Indo-Pacific within this region as such. So we could see 20% is happening, but the remaining 80% of the trade are focusing on the markets of Southeast Asia and the market based on European Union and the US. So on this 80% trade, so what is a regional comprehensive economic partnership which has been floated by the ASEAN, and comprehensive package for Trans-Pacific partnership and Indo-Pacific economic framework, which is on the pipeline. So what I see, it is like the rule of origin and the rule of origin, and how far the inflammatory reductions could be addressed, which like a regional comprehensive economic partnership would be a leverage to the shrimp industry. And when it comes to the another comprehensive and CPTPP, which I would like to say for comprehensive package of Trans-Pacific partnership, I'd see like the markets like Japan and Canada being the next possible sources, because when you link in supply chain, so this has to go through a network in which the factor of origin or the other factors which takes into a factor of production which takes into account of the inflation must be accounted. So I'm suggesting the relatively stable economies of Japan and Canada should be considered as along the factor of production on foreign resilient supply chain in this matter, and sustainability standards and eco-friendly trade practices. Eco-friendly trade practices as such, I mean like the turtle. There is no arms on the turtles during the shrimp trading. So it has been formed as it should be made as an trade practices and has to be labeled in every canned productions, canned product of shrimps. And digitalization of trade and green supply chains, which the Indo-Pacific economic framework is like currently working on. So I see the shrimp industry, once the Indo-Pacific economic framework is in place, digital trade and the green supply chain will be the beneficial for this for this the market. And next, most importantly, is like framing a digital trade rule. So ASEAN, as a one of the most key regional player in Southeast Asia, must start framing a digital trade rule, so that traceability system in the shrimp exports, which major of the European Union and US the destination markets are pointing at the shrimps, could be addressed, and reducing dependency on European Union. So, but the shrimp as an industry has to diversify himself, because as to diversify itself, because what is the raw shrimps which has been the raw shrimps, which along with the nitrofuran and other chemicals which has been supplied to this market, must be processed and should bring some processed food, so that the 80% of the raw shrimps which has been transported, maybe they can be brought to 60%, 20% of the packaged shrimps could be done. And regional cooperation mechanism. So Indo-Pacific is evolving. Is an evolving the region. So we should, or the thinkers on the government and policymakers, should evolve for an trans-Pacific, in the Indo-Pacific arrangement, which could help in bringing out the cooperation mechanism between in the market, because I see market as a mechanism to bring cooperation, because the overpopulated Indo-Pacific, which is always politically saturated, and in the realm of political arm race, I see the market race as the good mechanism of cooperation, and that's it. I would like to conclude. See, market access is the big way in which Indo-Pacific could see a cooperation, and putting away the other areas of the contestations and claims aside. So, market is a good way to go for cooperation in Indo-Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayadoure Stalin, for your presentation. I think there's a very important issue, number one, because there have been so many phytosanitary restrictions that have been imposed on the trade of this particular commodity. And this commodity comes from small-time operators. These are not big people with big trawlers and, those who are going out to the sea to fish and get all these products. These are small-time operators, and if their consignments get so adversely impacted, of course, they get, it's a very big bolt as far as they are concerned. So I'm glad you have focused on this particular subject, and your recommendation also in terms of participation, because whether it is Southeast Asian countries, or it is Japan, or it is the United States, these are big importers, these are big consumers of shrimp, and these are also big producers in this region. So I think in terms of cooperation, that would be a win-win solution for both sides. So now we are coming to the last speaker of this session, and all the other participants who might be on this, who might be listening to the discussions on this panel, I would request them and invite them to keep their questions ready, and they can put it in the chat box if there are any questions that they have. And otherwise, after this is over, and if we don't get the, we have one more speaker, Mr. Rahul Kumar Sharma, but we missed out on one speaker, Dr. Vidyapati Purushottaman. So if if Dr. Vidyapati Purushottaman does not join us, then Mr. Rahul Mishra will be the Rahul Sharma will be the final speaker, and after that we can have a discussion, and the discussion could be first amongst the participants as to what do they see in terms of some of the challenges that have been identified, what are the solutions that they can see, particularly in terms of relations between the United States and China, the manner in which they are going. Of course, there is great uncertainty as we go into the next year, but still we could have a discussion, we could try to have a discussion on that, and what impact, positive or not so positive, it could have on the subject that we are discussing, maritime connectivity and trade in the Indo-Pacific. So with these words, let me invite our final or penultimate speaker, Mr. Rahul Kumar Sharma. He's a research fellow at the Central University of South Bihar, and he's going to be speaking on decoding the geostrategic implications of Bangladesh crisis over sub-regional connectivity. You have the floor. Rahul, you're not audible. Yeah, you have to unmute yourself. I think you're unmuted. Still not audible. The PowerPoint presentation is clear, but we can't hear you. Your voice is not coming through.
Rahul, sir, you can rejoin the meeting. I'll make you the co-host again. Rahul, sir, you're still not audible.
No, can't hear you, Rahul.
Am I audible now? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Can you unmute from one device?
Yeah, we are logged in on two devices, Rahul. So
Now,
you can go out of one.
It's now okay. Hello?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Now it's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Firstly, I would like to thank you so much, Chair, for having me here. And I'm very thankful to NIICE for sharing my these insights in front of you all. Many eminent experts on this maritime security have already spoken about many things about the maritime security connectivity. And though my area actually is on this Southeast Asia, mainly I also looking this South China Sea critical tech diplomacy. But I thought that to come up with a new idea that how the internal factor actually used to affect the other aspects of connectivity. Like for that, I have chosen this realist theory, mainly the neoclassical variant. Mainly, I am going through with this Farid Zakaria's viewpoint on this to generalize or to decode entire these aspects. So, firstly, I began this the topic for what I have chosen this South Asian turmoil, decoding the geostrategic implications of Bangladesh crisis over sub-region connectivity. As we all are aware that the present world or the 21st century, right now there is instability, whether it is Europe or this Middle East, even in Asia also. So in South Asia, if we'll go with series of analysis like from 2021 to 2024 present, like the instability in Sri Lanka or your Afghanistan or your Myanmar. In Afghanistan also, it gives insight that there is some sort of this bigger hand of this superpower. We call it as big powers. So by taking that, I have when I was analyzing this Bangladesh crisis also, then I thought to give this to justify this as South Asian turmoil would be the big umbrella topic. So now here decoding geostrategic implications of Bangladesh crisis. What is actually this Bangladesh crisis? That before going through that, we have to know this here. The strategic location of Bangladesh. So Bangladesh itself we can call as the heart of South Asia, which is located at the confluence of this Bay of Bengal region, as well as its geopolitical landscape shares a border with mainly 4 countries like India, Myanmar, Bhutan, and this Myanmar, Bhutan. So here, because of this strategic location also, and also this nearby this seaport, this Bay of Bengal region, and connected with many river network, it leverages the Bangladesh to play a significant role in this South Asian region. However, after, as we all know that here Bangladesh has got independence from the yoke of this West Pakistan in the year 1971. However, after that, there was development, we can't deny, but yes, there was series of this upheaval takes place. And that I don't want to explain it in detail because we all are familiar with this. But the present, these geopolitical challenges right now, which is happening in Bangladesh, that has very bigger implications as far as this the present this geopolitical turmoil of this South Asia are concerned. So I'll just go with this 3 particular aspects when I'm identifying this Bangladesh, or when I'm denoting this Bangladesh crisis. So first one is a political turmoil. Like this political turmoil, which fathoms the ongoing instability of governance and the future of Bangladesh. Like right now, the present this interim government under the leadership of this Muhammad Yunus also is getting a criticism from West as well as from this its neighboring country too. For not properly handling the government, and there is a this disagreement between this within the Bangladesh. So perhaps the core problem which led to this political turmoil are its historical grievances that we all are aware. Then after a growing population, which is actually perhaps I would say that is a very important factor. and growing religious and a nationalistic ideology and this contemporary volatile environment. This all underscore this political instability in Bangladesh. Adding to this, we have these economic challenges like this political Bangladesh crisis also got down or slow down the economy, which earlier it was not. However, from post this COVID-19, the economy was slowed down, but that was not so that much. But yes, this kind of this crisis actually has the potential to slow down the economy too. Like many, its impact are exacerbated by this non-performance of bank loan and this struggling of currency, decline of this remittance and reduced exports. This all get affected by this crisis in Bangladesh. Third one is the security issue itself, like a political unrest which has escalated in Bangladesh has a has given a very high level of this possibility of this security concerns. Perhaps the handing over this administrative and this decision making this power to the army from this interim government, which also has the possibility in future that how if this happens that there may be some sort of this security instability can be seen if we analyze this case study of this Myanmar or your other country. Additionally, this current political and the security, these economic challenges also give a space volatile situation for other extra-regional power, not only China but also to other like US to give more opportunity. If I would say from the India, if I will talk from the Indian perspective, so these are the things which we cannot ignore that the crisis has all the bigger implications in general. Now, when I'm saying this, its impact on this sub-regional connectivity, of course, BCIA, then after India's own this multimodal policies, aspirations, as well as the act like your Kaladan multimodal project is in trilateral highway or your its ambitious vision of this ACTIS policy. These all are in the in a very turning this limelight, I can say. Even the trade route also disruptions also can be visualized because of its strategic location of Bangladesh. This all the things also get dismantled. If I speak from this Indian perspective, then yes, of course, trade and investment in South Asia will get slowed down because of this the strategic location of Bangladesh, as well as the security concern for India. Like a crisis also raised the security concerns for India. The border infiltration in this northern region of West Bengal, mainly the Gorkha-dominated area of West Bengal districts like your Darjeeling or your Kalimpur, Alipurduar, it's all will get affected, as well as if I'll quote the C. Raja Mohan's statement, then these infiltrations have the potential for this future escalations of the tensions. That not only experience in this northern district of West Bengal, but also the states of northeast region of India like Tripura, Mizoram, Meghalaya, and Assam also get affected. Non-state actors, movement, and struggle of weapons are the security threat for India's northeastern region. Apart from the above implications, the refugee and international crimes, this internal stability in northeastern region also get affected. The strategic rivalry also hindered by this Bangladesh crisis, mainly the China and India's perspective. If I'll talk from this China's-India's perspective, then this strategy of China is to encircle India, but previous government under the Sheikh Hasina, there was a good relations with India and Bangladesh. But right now, this Bangladesh interim government also, because of its, I can't say properly, but yes, tilting towards this Pakistan, yes, India must have to think twice, or Bangladesh also have to go through at least 2-3 times to visualize the proper relations with India. So crisis at the end, I would say that the crisis in Bangladesh not only has implications on one particular aspects of connectivity, whether it is a maritime connectivity, but yes, a crisis has a very broader implications that will not only underscore the maritime security, but also other area of connectivity is also important and crucial, where a government or your internal, where the Bangladesh government as well as their own administration must have to look after, as well as there should be the cooperations and inclusive sustainability from these sub-regional actors or the organizations that perhaps would be the better solutions. However, anyway, I can go through with this one by one, which I have mentioned here, like a dialogue and negotiations perhaps would be the better options within this within the Bangladesh administration between this for and against opposition party. Economic reform is very important factors which also could leverages this which also brings stability in Bangladesh as well as to the entire sub-region. Security measure also should we have to take here on the mind. Then regional cooperations, not the least, are some of the important solutions, I can say. Then after at the end, like a future connectivity in South Asia, not from the holistic perspective, depends on this political stability of Bangladesh. Then, of course, followed by economic infrastructure development, regional and inclusive and sustainable development of the Bangladesh vis-a-vis the entire region. So at the end, we have to see that here the current crisis in Bangladesh presents a critical opportunity for South Asian nations to collectively address the challenges of political instability, economic disparities, and the impact on the sub-regional connectivity. By prioritizing dialogue, fostering economic growth, and strengthening regional collaborations, we can create a more secure, prosperous, and interconnected South Asia for all. Right. So there should be this inclusivity. That is my finding, that the internal as well as the intra-regional organizations must have to play a very crucial role, as well as from this Farid Zakaria's neoclassical realism statement that the internal decision-making power or the internal stability should be there, so that the outer structure also get prosperous and inclusive development. Thank you so much.
Hello. Hello, sir. You're still on mute. Hello, Ashok, sir. You're on mute.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, you were not audible.
Okay, fine. So, sorry for that. And, what I was saying is I was complimenting Rahul for taking up a subject that is current and that is evolving and sharing his thoughts on that. If you can remove the presentation from the screen so that I think we can get all the other speakers then on the screen. So I was inviting all the speakers, panelists to please put on their cameras so that we can see them. There are a number of questions that have been posed to the various. Rahul, you have one extra, the last one, and if you can please put put that off. You are logged in twice. So that is why, even the voice is reverberating. So if you can, you are now in two cameras, we can see you. So if you can put off one of those systems. So as I was saying, there are a number of questions that have been posed to the different speakers. What I'm going to do, with your permission, there are individual questions that have been posed to three of the speakers. So let us take those first. And then there are a couple of questions which have been posed to the whole group of speakers, so that we can take after we have done with the individual questions that have been posed to the speakers. So first, I think everyone can read it in the chat box, but let me read out from Dr. Pramod Jaiswal. It is to Admiral Perera. Considering your experience as a former Navy commander, how do you assess the security challenges facing maritime trade routes in the Indo-Pacific today? So that's a very specific question, Admiral, to you. And if you could kindly take it on maybe in about 3 minutes or so that we could go then to the next question and to the next speaker. You have the floor.
Thank you, Cha, for the question, and thank you very much. Yes, of course, today we were discussing maritime connectivity in Indo-Pacific. First, I must tell you, Indian Ocean is the natural. Indo-Pacific is political. So now today we are having, as the Cha mentioned, the attack in Red Sea and the South China Sea issues, and also in Taiwan also they have mentioned. And more than that, there are some underwater threats also, because now we are globally focusing on the surface threat, but not the underwater. Underwater also very important, because now underwater threats is coming, not only for the shipping, even for submarine cables, there are so many threats. So that is actually globally when we discuss, we have. But we come to the geopolitics of Sri Lankan situation, I will tell you, because now we are very important strategically, and it's our duty to ensure the safety of the seafarers. Now, Cha, you especially mentioned during Shangri-La dialogues, Prime Minister Modi mentioned free and fair navigation for the seafarers is mandatory for this, even for long time back. You may have remembered this. One of our first Prime Minister, Lady Prime Minister, Mrs. Sirima Bandaranaike, also proposed Indian Ocean of Peace, Zone of Peace. So actually it was during President Prime Minister Nehru's time. It was ratified at the 1971 at the United Nations, but still it's not happening because the various actors. Now today the China is on very fast track, right? So because the road and belt. Then India, the Prime Minister is looking at his policy. Then also the Americans also trying to get into the situation, like to balance the situation here. So because of that, a lot of geopolitical situation is there. Other than that, that is all conventional type. There are IU fishing, the human smuggling, drug trafficking, and also because of these Red Sea issues, of the Gaza issue, and also has come up. Because of that, the situation is bad. But for that, we always discuss of this every meetings, every seminars, rule of law. Rule of law, it's mandatory, but it has to be law ratified by the United Nations. So when someone is proposing, who are the people is opposing, that's the question at the United Nations. So Sri Lanka as an independent and non-aligned, some says is a multi-aligned, but anyway, we will support, because there are fusion centers, we do joint exercises, and also there are so many organizations, like we interact with trilateral, and also now today, if you take today, India Sri Lanka joint exercise happening eastern coast of Vizag. Likewise, we have a lot of interaction to counter, especially to counter these threats. I hope in future also these threats will, with the support of everybody in the region, all the countries in the region can curb. Other than the geopolitical situation, as I explained, because this China fast track, the American situation here, and also the India is also concerned about their backyard. Now, Sri Lanka being very close to that, and I know even the current president of Sri Lanka, the new president today, is meeting the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I saw some discussions also. They have discussed about the security situation, especially in the Indian Ocean. Those are matters actually we have to push and take it. And also, I must tell, as a Sri Lankan, I don't think any political situation, whatever the government changes, we will never compromise national security of another country. So India is also a little worried about Hambantara port, China's involvement. But that is, that every president has said, every prime minister has said that we do business, but we are not aligned to anyone, but we will never compromise national security of India. So that is what I want to emphasize, because with limited time, but this subject we can go on everywhere, every forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Admiral, for your very enlightening comments on this subject. It's a very important subject. As you said, we can continue to discuss that for a long time. Of course, your first statement was that Indian Ocean is natural, Indo-Pacific is political. I don't know whether I will really be able to agree with you on that particular subject. I think what's been really mentioned is that Indo-Pacific is natural, Asia-Pacific is political and constructed form. And, even if you look at the, say, 15th, 16th, 17th century, there were no politics dividing. But, what I mentioned about the Portuguese, when they came, they took the maritime route. 1498, they came to India, from there to Sri Lanka, from there to Southeast Asia, and beyond to, Guam and Macau and all these places. So there was no political division between Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. It's only much later that, for certain, I would say, political reasons, that it was sought to be made into an Asia-Pacific, which really covered only the region from the eastern coast of China to the western coast of the United States. But by coming onto the Indo-Pacific, we are trying to give it that historical context. So, it is really a recreation, a relearning of history, that both Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean are being combined. I think the other comments that you made, Admiral, also are very relevant and very important, that the rule of law really means, in the maritime context, that you have to respect UNCLOS 82. The United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea, that is the UN law. And countries which do not respect that, or if there are, we have seen the International Court of Justice, the Permanent Court of Arbitration has given a ruling and they don't abide by that, that means they are not going, they are not abiding by the rule of law. So it has to be free, it has to be open, there has to be freedom of navigation. And the last point is that, as you mentioned about Sri Lanka's policy of multi-alignment, possibly, as the world is becoming multipolar, then there is not one or two powers in the world who can dictate or who can deal with all challenges coming in different parts of the world. There are regional entities also, regional groupings and regional powers. And in that context, I think whether it is in our own context, it is BIMSTEC or some of the other institutions that can also come up for finding solutions of regional issues. Let me now come to the next question, that is to Mr. Raj Mohabeer. And you also, Mr. Mohabeer, would have seen it on the chat, but let me read it out. Given your role at the Indian Ocean Commission, how can regional organizations like the IOC contribute to strengthening the economic and environmental sustainability of small island states in the Indo-Pacific? Again, maybe 3 minutes, because we barely have, I think, 12 minutes to go. And we have a couple of more questions also. So over to you, Mr. Mohabeer.
Thank you very much, Chair. Indeed, this is a very good question. Thanks very much for it. And in fact, we do several, I should say, there were several actions to contribute to the sustainability of small island developing states. And this is something that we've been doing since now. First of all, and thanks again for this question, because it gives me the opportunity to tell everyone what we do. First, we view maritime security as an important plank for sustainable development of small island developing states. And it is in this context that we have established a regional architecture for maritime security, where we have established 2 regional centers. One is based in Seychelles, and one is based in Madagascar. Madagascar is the regional Maritime Information Fusion Center, which is an IFC, a bit like Singapore IFC and the other IFCs. But then the combination together with RCOC, which is a Regional Coordination of Operations Center. And since the end of COVID, we have undertaken 25 operations. And here, in concrete terms, what we've done is that we've tried to get the countries to work together, because individually, you see small countries like Seychelles, very small, 100,000 population, but then 1.3 million square kilometers of EEZ. Mauritius, 1.3 million people, but then 2.3 million square kilometers of sea. So by being together, we have get all the countries in the region to get together, and we established this regional maritime security architecture with those 2 centers. And we are undertaking operations by pooling assets and information together, looking and trying to get a comprehensive maritime picture of the movement of the vessels in the whole region. We are now establishing what we say a very key deterrent for maritime crimes in the region. So that's one. But there are, just like this, we are undertaking many other activities like sustainable fisheries. We've got the countries to enact laws so that they, when they give licenses, that the licensees have VMSs on. We have established a regional VMS, and we are trying to get the countries to be working, pooling the assets together and going and doing inspections of vessels at sea. But there are a lot of other programs, at least 20 these days, which we are doing and which are contributing on several planks of sustainable development, like economic cooperation. We, for example, were the Secretariat for the negotiation of EPA, Economic Partnership Agreement with the EU, and eventually facilitating implementation of those agreements, etc., etc. If you go and look at the website of the IUC, you'll find many such projects. So, it's very difficult for 3 minutes to tell us what in concrete times we do, because these are not theories, they are practical examples. And this is why when you mention to me about what we have done, and on maritime connectivity, we are thinking and trying to, what I suggested for the Indo-Pacific, to try to have a regional strategy and plan for the whole of Indo-Pacific. This is what we are doing in our region. And to finish, I'll just give you one example. There were only one owner of optical fiber cable linking Mauritius, Réunion, and Madagascar. We have established a cable, submarine cable, which is called METIS, which has enabled to democratize access to broadband and get the countries, to be really competitive at competitive price to get broadband. And the METIS was a IOC result. So just in a short, just to tell you that there are many things that we do, including in maritime security, promoting regional cooperation, trade, regional integration, and also connectivity. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohabeer, for this very interesting and detailed presentation. As you said very rightly, in 3 minutes, it's not possible, and you're doing a fantastic job. You're doing a phenomenal job. So congratulations. But I think it gives an opportunity to all those who are listening to you or who will have the opportunity to listen to you later on to go to your website and learn for themselves. But the 2 points that you made, one is we need to provide greater accessibility to all these facilities, because competition will lead to better quality as well as better pricing. And second is that the regional countries need to get together to deal with their own challenges, to deal with their own problems. And this is exactly what I mentioned in my first response, that, in this increasingly multipolar world, there are regional powers and regional authorities which are getting much greater influential and which have much greater capacity to provide facilities and to provide services and take care of the challenges. So the other question that I have is to Dr. Senevirathna from Dr. Pramod Jaiswal. How do you see the evolving geopolitical competition in the Indo-Pacific influencing maritime trade and regional connectivity? So very quickly on this, because I have two more questions and I would like to quickly run through the speakers for their very quick responses also.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Dr. Jaiswal. As you all know, every country in the Indo-Pacific region is faced with this problem. But it will have both negative and positive impact on the countries, also the maritime connectivity and the regional connectivity. For example, countries in the ASEAN region have to face, they are depending on China. They have to think twice before collaborating with US to a great extent. For example, they need to have a balancing act in that theater. And even if you take Sri Lanka, for example, and we are in a special situation in a very close proximity to India. And historically, India is very influential in the region. When we deal with a country like China, we always have to take into consideration the Indian interests, especially the security interests. For example, we can allow the military ships to come in from any country, but as you all know, in 2021, when a Chinese research ship came to Sri Lanka, India didn't like that. They highlighted that as a ship that can be used to engage in spying. And also there was a power plant project, the hybrid power plant in the Delphi Island. The Chinese company won a contract to build that in the Delphi Island, very close proximity to India. India didn't like that because it's very close to India and it can use to collect information. So they are very sensitive issues. For some countries being close to a very large power, they have always need to take into consideration the security interest of those countries, not only in relation to Sri Lanka, even for the ASEAN country. But I think generally the smaller powers in the region are managing this very well. And at the same time, there are opportunities, as I highlighted earlier. For example, the rivalry between the United States and China may give opportunity to attract the investment towards your country. For example, now chips making companies and many companies who are based in China, they want to come out of China, and the ASEAN countries are attracting those investments toward those countries. Even as I highlighted as the early example, Sri Lanka can use these competition as a hedging to attract investment, especially in the maritime sector, even for Hambantota. Even for Hambantota, we can say to India, see, the Chinese influence is rising. To counter that, you'd come and invest there. So like that, we can adopt a strategy like that to get benefit out of this geopolitical rivalry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think not only can the smaller countries do it, but I think the smaller countries are doing it. But I can definitely say for India that as far as the only red line is in terms of India's security interests, as long as that is not adversely impacted upon, I think all other types of relations are quite kosher, are quite all right. And we have seen that, as far as, meaning this is what really is implied by having a multi-aligned foreign policy or a multi-vector foreign policy, that you are able, on the basis of issues, on the basis of merits, without in any serious way impinging or impacting upon your basic foreign policy interests, you can align, you can cooperate, and you can collaborate with a large number of countries. So it is a win-win situation. That is what emerges. Now I have just about 2 minutes or so to go, and I can see that Rahul has not had a question directly posed to him. So let me give him the opportunity to respond to this question that I have in front of me, which says, given the diverse challenges faced by different countries in the Indo-Pacific, what are the key areas where multilateral cooperation can enhance maritime connectivity and trade? So you have just 2 minutes, Rahul, to respond to that, because we have I have a notice from the organizers that we just have 2 minutes left for our session. Go ahead, Rahul.
Uh, so could you please repeat the question, because I was
Actually,
muted
you can
twice.
see it in the chat. You can see it also in the chat. If you go to the chat, there is the question, and if you have it in front of you, then you'll be okay. What it says is, with the global trade landscape rapidly changing, that of course is quite evident. How can countries in the Indo-Pacific region maintain their competitiveness while fostering greater regional integration? I see that Rahul has gone out of the meeting. So maybe one last minute to you, Mr. Mohabeer, if you would like to respond.
Yes, indeed, Chair. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity again to come on that. I think that Mr. Rahul is there already, so maybe I leave it for Mr. Rahul.
Rahul, are you there? Because I cannot see you. Maybe
hello?
your camera is off. Maybe
Sir,
your
can you
camera
hear
is...
me? Hello.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Yeah,
Okay,
I think let's give the opportunity
okay. It's
to
fine.
Rahul.
It's fine. Because the Wi-Fi has come.
Yeah.
Sir, we have to
Okay,
wrap
go
up in
ahead.
2 minutes, so we have to prepare
Yeah.
for the next session, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Rahul. Okay, I don't think
You're talking about, right?
he's able to connect. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
What's happened?
Rahul, maybe we'll leave it for the next time now, because I think the organizers want to prepare for the next session. So I think we've had a full 2-hour-long conversation, interaction on this very important subject of maritime connectivity and trade. This is what really makes the Indo-Pacific tick, if I could say that, because this is sort of, the reason why there is so much of contestation in this region, in the Indo-Pacific, in the Indian Ocean region, in the Pacific Ocean region. And we've had excellent presentations from our panelists, from the 5 panelists that we had. And we have covered a very broad area. Particularly, I'm glad we have really focused very intensely on the Indian Ocean region. Because otherwise, when you speak normally about the Indo-Pacific, it is the Western Pacific Ocean, it is the South China Sea, it is that particular region that we are concentrating on. Even as far as the Quad is concerned, that is the main area of our interest and our conversations. Today, we have spoken much more about the Bay of Bengal region, about the Arabian Sea region, and so on and so forth. So I'm very happy that we've been able to cover a lot of ground on this particular subject. Let me extend a very warm felicitations to our speakers. I can see 3 of them on the screen, and also Dr. Pramod Jaiswal, who's the organizer of this conference on Indo-Pacific. He's also with us. So let me thank him also for getting us all together and having this very interesting and useful conversation. So thank you to all the speakers.